You are listening to Processing Trauma Out Loud, conversations about trauma and healing from two women who are doing the work.
Hey everyone, this is Kandace and Sher with Processing Trauma Out Loud. Sher and I are coming back after a conversation last week about a group experience that we had, actually for Sher and I just last night. But Sher, we were talking about the environment of this group that we're in, which feels pretty different for us. Like we have experienced it in the last few years in other groups. But there is a sense of containment around the deepest emotions that in the past maybe we felt, oh, this is too much. Or I can't share this because I'm really the only one that probably struggles with something like this. And now we are tasting. And I want to use the word tasting because I believe healing is an experience. I do believe that we learn lessons, but the neurochemicals in our brain, the neuroplasticity changes through experience. And so we are now in these environments where there's openness. There's no comparison or judgment or shame. Now, I'm not going to by any means say we're perfect or that might not come up. I will tell you, if it does come up, we feel safe enough to bring it into the light. I mean, seriously, I have this memory of someone just saying, I'm struggling right now because I'm just judging you for what you just said. And I'm like, okay, I want to see this unfold because this is the kind of community that I need.
Yeah. Well, we're accustomed to communities where there's shame, right? And when we're talking about desire, shame is going to come in to the conversation. It has to. It's like our human experience. And when we talk about desire as it relates to the body, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today, but I'm an extremely modest woman. My mother was very ashamed of her body and passed that on to me. There was never one conversation about one single aspect of the body or development or maturing or sexuality or changes in nothing, not one. And so I grew up I'm very modest. I keep my body very covered and I'm not super comfortable talking about certain topics, but I'm wanting to more and more. And we were just I just commented that every woman is in such need for the red tent experience, which is kind of this scriptural Old Testament Hebrew women who, at their time of the month would actually leave their home, go to the tent where they were with other women at this, going through these transitions, these stages, these rhythms of life where things could be talked about. And I'm sure it wasn't perfect, but where things could be talked about that in my context were never talked about. And so shame, there's always been a lot of shame around my body. And so when we talk about desire, especially as it relates to the body, I can get very anxious very quickly, but I am noticing that in my body now, and I'm wanting to stay present more, and I'm seeing micro movements, micro changes. But this is not an easy place for us to be.
It's so not an easy place, and yet we're being called to this place because we have generations coming up. We'll be gone, in a few decades, possibly, God willing. But these conversations are mattering because we actually hear feedback that they're mattering. I think it's interesting, Sher, you and I often have stories that you're on one end and I'm on the other. And there's this beautiful place of bringing something together because we help each other understand the difference, right? And for our listeners, I literally have people will say, "Wow, Kandace, I can relate to you in that." I just had this not too long ago. Someone messaged me and said, "Oh, I really related to Cher's story in your last podcast." Okay, podcast episode. Well, I don't remember. This is just coming up for me. I don't remember ever feeling shame about my body. Okay. Now, here's where the shame showed up. Because, like you, I was not taught anything about my body. Now, I will tell you in certain environments, I was told you don't do this with your body. Okay. My shame came in when I could not and did not live up to the should nots and don'ts. Okay. So my shame came in. There's something so wrong and bad with me that I can't be a good girl. And then even the teenage protector part that was developed. If you read my memoir, you're going to get the whole story that would say, fuck you.
Yeah.
You have no idea, you know? And so I love when I hear from someone that's read my memoir and they were able to connect. I've had a few people say this, you know what? I would never said this, but I had that fuck you part too.
Yeah. Well, and say a little bit more about that for our listeners to understand. Like, why did you have that part? What was it protecting? How was it protecting?
Mm-hmm. So just a snippet of my story was, and this is in the book, I was left physically alone as a child many times. And in the aloneness, there was so much fear that would overtake my body. There were times I felt paralyzed. In fact, in one of my stories in my book, if you read it, you'll hear about the circumstance that I peed my pants because of fear. And so the first time I had sex, and I realized that someone being in you, I apologize if this is too much info for people, but it's just true. If someone is in you, you can't be more unalone. There was a sense that that type of connection meant that I wasn't alone. When my coach said, Kandace, what you needed was not someone in you, but someone with you, I lost it. Sure. In fact, I'm feeling the emotion of it now because I know that that was true. But because I found that soothing, that comforting, that voice that would say, you're not alone in that way, I had to develop the fuck you part for the judgment that came against me.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the language at the time, but what that young girl was saying is, you don't know me, you don't know my story, and you don't know what this does for me.
Yeah.
Not because I'm a slut, not because I'm a whore, not because I'm bad, but because I don't feel fear in these moments. Mm-hmm. And it is more important for me not to feel fear than to care about what you think about me.
Yeah. It's like you were saying, you don't get to judge me. You don't get to judge me because you don't know. And I want to, and thank you for sharing that, Kandace. And it's, there's so much.
Am I okay?
You're take a breath. Take a breath. We're talking about desire. And I wanted to just name this. I feel like you are naming it indirectly. Like your desire was for security. You were left home alone to the point where you were terrified. So terrified. Your desire was security. Your desire was connection. Your desire was love. Your desire was goodness. Like these are the aspects of our human desire that we live with, and how we find fulfillment of these deep, deep longings within our body, soul, and spirit are going to depend upon the ways that we are met as we walk through life. Like, how are we held in safety? Where are we made to feel secure? Where are we given connection that helps us feel alive and good and beautiful and blessed? Versus where are the places where we were left alone on our own to figure it out and try to find a way to survive?
Well, it's why I named my memoir the way I named it. Like, that title came to me. If I can sum up what's happened and transpired in my healing journey, because I first showed up with someone who I could bring everything into the light with.
Yeah.
And that little girl experienced someone who could be with her. That teenage girl could experience someone who wouldn't look away or judge her. It gave me the modeling, the example, the resonance for me to turn towards her,
Yeah.
without disgust.
Yeah.
And so my title, With You Now, is the relief, the peace, the assurance that that little girl needed to know that just because someone's in you does not mean they're with you.
Yeah.
And now, knowing what with you means, and I experience, it has nothing to do with sex.
Yeah.
Now, it can, but ultimately, that little girl didn't need sex. She needed someone with her in her pain.
Yeah.
And one of those people.
Yeah. Yeah. She needed someone with her and with her in her pain and with her, helping her to recognize her beauty and helping her recognize her desires are good and helping her come alive. And these are the places that we as women are still, in so many ways, we're still longing for. And you and I we've tasted now. We've had people who have come to be with us and help us. And now we're standing with each other and we're standing with others as well, like helping to bless these areas that have been cursed. Mm-hmm. Helping us and one another find our ways through places of anger that got us stuck, or places of shame that have caused us to turn away from our own self.
Yeah.
And instead turning toward ourselves with new understanding and sometimes curiosity and sometimes affirmation and not alone. Like, we're no longer alone in this. We're literally having conversations with other women about these spaces that have been so full of pain.
Yeah. And beauty.
Yeah.
Sher, I want to say something because I'm noticing something in my body. So we're talking about desire in relation to our bodies. I am sweating and it's not a hot flash. And I'm like, why am I sweating? Well, I went to last night how we named that anger can be like a fire. Okay. And then I went to, I identify that feeling with anger. And I'm like, why do I feel angry? Like, what's happening in my body that there's a sense of anger? And I realized it's not only for myself in the way that I was misunderstood and judged and not given what I needed.
Yeah.
It's not about blame. It's just the truth of my story. Yep. I realized, like, that is my heart for everyone. Yeah. Like, I want to know you. I want to understand your story. I want to look under the surface of why you believe what you believe, why you do what you do, why you think what you think, why you're showing up in relationship in the way that you are. And you and I both know in the beginning, most people have a sense of because there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, hell no.
Yeah.
There was something that happened to you that hijacked the kind of belief system that God intended for you to have.
Yeah.
But we can be with you now in it.
Mm.
Mm. I didn't know this conversation was going to take this turn, but thank you, Sher.
Mm. You know, I want us to end with this. With you now is a reality that we know, like with other women who are with us, but also the with you now aspect of how we are able to be with our own body, soul, and spirit in a position of love and curiosity and acceptance. And it's just beautiful.
Yeah. Yes. I just want to say I love my teenage girl now.
I love your teenage girl too. I really do. And she's good for me.
She still wants to get me in trouble sometimes when she gets angry, but I'm able to contain her now. Mostly. Good to be with you, my friend. Love you.
You too. Love you so much, Kandace.